Yeah, we're live.
All right. I'd like to call to order the June 2nd, 2026 Columbia Borough Council workshop. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilperson Easy? Here. Councilperson Murphy?
Here.
Councilperson Ziegler?
Here.
Councilperson Cooper?
Here.
Council President Kaufman? Councilperson Byers?
Here.
Councilperson Zink?
Here.
Mayor Lutz?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, did anyone wish to offer an invocation? If you'd like, please rise for the silence.
That's great.
All right, and please join us in a pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Are there any additions, deletions, or reorganization of the agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Murphy, second by Councilperson Geezy, to approve the agenda as published. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, next, citizen comments. The first sign up we have is Sharon Lintner.
Good evening. I wanted to go back to actually to May 18th of the bid opening. I was present for the bid opening, and during that process, the solicitor announced that this was, in all respects, a responsive bid. Everything we need to consider this a responsive bid. And the solicitor then stated there was going to be an executive session that evening to, quote, discuss the bid. There had to be 9 sets of eyes on this document from between May 18th and May 26th, and yet apparently no one caught the fact that the 60-day requirement was missing. It seems the bid should have been rejected long before it became an agenda item. The public should have been informed immediately, not 4 hours into the meeting. As I recall, the council vice president said that May 26th was the first time they had to discuss this, which differs from what the solicitor stated. And I wasn't real familiar with the term responsive bid, so I did have to do a little research on that. And in municipal contracting, a responsive bid means the contractor's proposal meets all the procedural, administrative, and technical requirements outlined in the borough's solicitation document. It signifies the vendor provided the right paperwork, agreed to the borough's exact terms, and submitted the bid on time. And my understanding is that the vice president also did write the RFP. So I'm just wondering what happened. Am I wrong in thinking that this could have been rejected on the spot because it did not contain the proper things that were required?
At the bid opening, we did not read, we verified that each of the items that we had requested, we verified that each of those were present, which was all we required at that time. And one of those items that we required them to address was timeline. We did not look at the details at the bid opening. We looked to verify that they were there. We didn't look at.
Well, he did mention the 4% that was required. I know he said that. And he
Right.
said, and then what happened though? I mean, if you had an executive session and then did you not have the bid with you? Did you have to turn them back in, or did you have that in your possession to read it?
We did have those two, yes.
So you had plenty of time actually to read them. You would think somebody would have caught it.
Yes, some of us did catch it.
But then why wouldn't it have been rejected before we even put it on the agenda.
Because when we have a responsive bid, we have to award or reject that bid at a public meeting.
But how was it responsive? Because the
Because it
definition
addressed-
doesn't,
But because we did sort of a hybrid of a sealed bid. Technically, all that was required was to contain the information that we had requested. We requested a timeline. They gave us a timeline. It didn't meet what we wanted, and that can be the basis for rejection. But just because it doesn't meet our expectation doesn't mean it's not responsive, because it did include their timeline.
but I'm still going to ask if it's state mandated 60-day. I just don't see how that fits into this, but okay. Thank you for trying to explain that to me. Also, just really quickly, I didn't speak at the last meeting, so I'm going to make up for it tonight. No.
Can you get a little more on the mic, Sharon?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I just wanted to make a suggestion too. If there is ever a meeting that you anticipate that kind of a crowd again, I think it would be wise to have a numbered sign-in sheet, because how in the world, you had to ask people to leave, and I don't think that was right in the first place, but you had to ask people to leave in order to proceed with the meeting. I think it should have been canceled. But if you had a numbered sign-in sheet, you could tell when you were hitting the maximum capacity, and then you would know what your decision was going to be. I don't know who counted heads to know enough people even left that room. I mean, I don't even think they did, because it was standing room only. But, certainly I know there were people outside, but, okay, so that's just a suggestion there. And as far as the e-bikes and scooters, I almost got hit on my own sidewalk trying to work it on yard work that I was doing, that I had to reach around my retaining wall. And, the guy came so fast out of nowhere, I couldn't even hear him coming. And I'm elderly. If I get hit by one of them, I'm going to break like an egg. And I just think, this is my suggestion, can the police, if they stop them for that, can they confiscate? Okay, so if they take the e-bike or the scooter, is it possible for them to hold it until they would complete some type of safety course at the market house or something? Hold one once a month or something, or once every 6 months. If you want them to get the bike back in a timely fashion, you would almost have to, I didn't know if that was even legal to make them do something like that, but I just think the word would spread pretty quick, because nobody's going to want to sit in that. And it's not just kids doing this. This guy was a complete adult. Riding right down the sidewalk very fast, faster than I say some of the cars travel. And he was gone. I would have never even known who hit me. And then, this morning we're rounding a corner, and here comes a kid on a scooter, motorized scooter. And we're like head on to each other. And I got a picture from another guy in town saying, here it is. I said, well, it's all over the place. Every time we drive through, that's what we see. So,
May I respond, Sharon?
yes.
Just, I have a little bit of experience in forfeiture. So the statute does allow us to seize those things in the commission of the crime. Once there's a disposition of that crime, if that person is found guilty, the county can apply for forfeiture, and the county would receive the whatever offending e-bike or whatever cycle it was. As a borough, we couldn't retain them merely and request or require them to take a class.
Okay.
That wouldn't be legal. But I think the mayor and I are looking to sit down and talk and look at a more restrictive policy for those e-bikes in the very near future.
Okay, thank you for that, because
Yes.
I really feel it's dangerous. I
Yes,
do,
yeah.
at this point, for pedestrians and drivers.
I completely agree,
That's
because
the only thing.
I had a few run-ins this weekend myself. So
Thank you.
And honestly, if we start seizing bikes and scooters, word will get out there.
Yes, it will.
It'll get out there fast.
Yeah.
it only takes a few, and then people start get the message when they're
Yeah.
when their bikes are being auctioned.
Thank you.
Right. right, the next sign up is Mary Wickenheiser.
Hi, Frank. I've been good.
I mean, I'm not that tall. Oh, Mary Wickenheiser, good evening. This morning, my daily walk, needless to say, takes me on Walnut Street. And this morning, the lights down at the intersection of Front and Walnut are flashing. They are yellow for Front Street. They are red for Walnut Street. As you come from the River Park, there's a sign that says, "Do not stop on tracks." Now, if you're coming out of the River Park, I was always taught, maybe I'm wrong, a flashing red light means you stop. If it's a yellow light, you proceed with caution. So we're kind of back to the stop sign that used to be there. My concern with that, not only Norfolk Southern might get a little tick that we've got cars stopping on their tracks, but you've got a lot more people coming out of that River Park than when it was a stop sign. When it was a stop sign, it was mainly the locals. The locals knew that they knew how to handle that intersection. So for how many years now has that been a signaled intersection? And do the pedestrian crossings still work? You got a lot more pedestrians going across Front Street than you ever had. I am seriously concerned if that's going to stay that way for the next 6 months.
It was working this morning, Mary. I was down there before you.
Yeah,
The signals worked and the buttons worked because I used the buttons to go
okay.
and come back again. So something must have happened while they were doing the construction today
I don't know.
that might have knocked it out of whack.
Yeah,
or
I was
something.
talking to Jake down there. I ran into him.
I don't know.
He said
They
he
didn't
was
get
going
into
to
those
check
wires, did
into
they?
it. Okay, so we're back to regular red, green. I'll let you know if it happens again. The other thing, I had sent an email last week, and part of that email, I think I sent it to Derek, to Leo, and to Jack. And it had to do with the sleepers down there, the curbing, which is being taken care of. But over on Chestnut Street, there is a sign at 2nd and Chestnut that says, "Road closed ahead." There is nothing at that jug handle. If you understand what I mean by the jug handle, coming off of the bridge, there is nothing there. This morning, as I came up 2nd from Walnut walking, there was a fire truck and 4 cars had come off on the jug handle. So there needs to be signage there where that curve, we always call them jug handles, because if you look at that intersection, you could pick it up by the jug handles. So I really think you need another sign. They've got to put another sign over there.
Thank you for bringing it to our
And-
attention, Mary. We'll take a
And
look at it.
Derek did get back to me. He said it's mainly a PennDOT project, so there was nothing he could intervene with as far as that went. Several months ago, there was a local businessman in here, and he had wanted to put signage on the fence down along 441.
Mhm.
Has anything been done to advance that? Has that fallen along the way? I know he was really, at that point, looking for something to be able to promote his business and possibly other businesses in town.
He has a sign down
Yes,
there.
I know.
He did,
On the fence.
yes.
Huh, yeah.
Good,
If the sign meets the sign
Ordinance.
ordinance.
okay.
And he has permission from PennDOT, which I'm assuming he
No,
does.
no,
And
PennDOT,
that's all.
PennDOT said, it's not our baby, that's yours.
Okay.
So
Okay,
If the
good.
borough approves it, someone
Okay.
comes in and approves and asks to put a sign there. The borough approves it and it meets the sign height and width, they can put it there.
Yeah, he has a sign there. I was just as at his
Okay, I don't
establishment
go up
last week,
that-
and he was
that
talking
way,
about it.
so
A couple days after that meeting, he had to sign.
good, good. My favorite subject, cats. It's not getting any better, people. You gotta stop letting people feed them. Now we've got skunks coming up because the food's outside overnight. I got a dog. Do you ever try cleaning a dog that's been skunked? I don't need that. None of you do. No one in this town does.
If the food's
The
out
cat-
overnight, we can enforce that through codes. Because if they have a registered colony, the food should not be out overnight.
And this registered colony thing, according to that ordinance, there's all kind of reports are supposed to be made on a yearly basis. Are you guys getting reports on these colonies? No, it's not colonies. It's just every cat from 30 blocks around coming to these places. They go from this one to this one to this one. And then they go up on the garage roof and sit there to try and get the birds in the trees. It has got to end. We did not have this problem until they were allowed to feed them. The colonies aren't working. Thank you.
Thank you. Next sign up is John Wakefield.
Okay, I'm the commander of the American Legion, Bill. Representing the chap.
The police department.
Huh?
The Columbia Borough Police Department for the taser.
Yeah, everything's there. For the Columbia per route, police department. All right.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Can we stand out front here? Please, I want to get a picture of you, not a mugshot, just a regular picture.
Holly, what is the amount?
3,500 towards our taser.
That was a little while to get seven, but I'm saying.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to the American Legion.
Thank you. Next sign up is Frank Altrick.
Good evening, you all. I'm a little bit calmed down more since the last council meeting, but I want to give you my take on that meeting. I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I walked into that room, I seen the microphones on the table, the streaming, and the podium with a microphone. And I said, boy, things are really turned around. And I was about ready to clap, but I thought that is turning things around. Now, as far as the meeting, the bottom line, council did the right thing to vote for it. Actually, that wasn't a true vote. Council didn't vote their true feelings, and we don't know really how it would have went. But I'm hearing as of today, there's these data centers going in Lancaster. They're looking at one up where Wyeth was. They're going in different places. And they're taking workers like from York over to Welding Shop. I just found out they're taking all their good workers to help build these buildings. So they're going in, folks. You're not going to stop them. The people at that meeting thought, yay, yay, we won. They upset that meeting so bad, they didn't win nothing. You did what you had to do. Now, as far as the meeting, folks, I went to a lot of meetings in my time. It was the worst, I mean the worst meeting I ever attended. Council, the borough manager, you were there, Holly, the mayor sit there, you just did nothing. It's your job to keep the decorum and everything down. As a matter of fact, this was put out by council, says civility and decorum. Borough officials and members of the public are expected to conduct themselves with civility and to accord each other a measurement of dignity and respect. Shouting, foul language, personal insults, threats, attacks, or any conduct of that disrupts the flow of business is out of order. Where were you all at? Was you at a different meeting I was at?
Frank, no, we were all at that same meeting.
Yeah.
We all sat up there and we took it. You know why?
You were afraid.
No, we were not afraid. But as council, we act as a body. We don't have we act as a body, we speak as a body, and we are represented by the chair of council. We don't overrun and go out. We are led by a leader, and that's
Sure, you didn't have a leader that night. Anyone had the right. You had the information to end that meeting. You were sitting on your butts doing absolutely nothing.
Robert's rules of order dictate the order of meetings. Robert's rules of order dictate that you can't discuss that the board cannot have discussions on an agenda item until there's a motion and a second. In the case of that meeting, the public began speaking before the board was allowed to speak. Had the board been allowed to speak, we would have been able to pick
Heather,
that up and
the
state that.
questions that come up to the board could have answered everything right there. That meeting didn't have to be that long. The mayor had a suit on with a tie. Ziegler, you had a suit on with a tie, and our solicitor had on. That wasn't right. Us sitting in the audience, that was just painful, just sitting there, and we had to stay to the end to find out. I would have left early, but we had to
So did
stop
we. had
and
to
find
stay at
out.
the end, too.
Yes, but you could have ended it. Heather, you know, and I know, you're talking about the rules. You just don't follow the rules all the time. Come on.
I know.
Anyway, it was absolutely terrible. And like I say, you had information, you could have ended it. It didn't have to go that long. Two of the people that night, the men of the night, Kelly and Ethan, you spoke up. You tried to get them calmed down. That was every time somebody spoke. Why did you let that go like that? I mean, it was just cruelty. I noticed Jack didn't say nothing. Mayor didn't say nothing. Council didn't say nothing. It was somebody's job to orchestrate that, to get that to go the right way. The one large cop, I think it's Mr. Souders, he was there. He even walked up in front of the council waiting for somebody to tell him, hey, do your job. Get these people calmed down. Nobody, you were just afraid. That's just what I seen. Whether you like that or not, I don't know.
With all due respect, sir, it was our position there to listen to the comments of the people that came to that meeting that wish to share them. Just like you come to provide your comments, we don't have the right to stop you or ignore you or disregard what you have to say. And it was our place to listen. And yeah, they were rowdy, but in my opinion, I was there to listen to every comment in regards to this extremely important decision.
How do you explain this civility and decorum? How do you explain that?
I guess that's a double-edged sword because, not to throw any stones, but like for your phone ringing the entire meeting, I guess that would have fit in.
Mhm.
Well, we used to have, as you well know, the statement about proper decorum and meetings on our agenda. That's one of the improvements that when our council president gets back, I want to talk to him about it. We definitely need to have that put back on. I'm not going to argue with you. It was
brutal.
14 and a half years on council without compare. Not absolutely 10 times the worst I've ever been at.
Thank you.
I've been council president for 4 years. I would never appreciate somebody speaking over me or trying to overrun me while I was running a meeting. I'm not saying it was run well, properly, whatever. I'm not saying that. Suggestions were made, some were taken, some weren't. And how I handled it was when my turn came to speak, you heard what I said. I said, I sat here and listened to you politely. You're going to sit there and be quiet for me, or I can sit here
Yeah.
till 1 o'clock
But Kelly,
waiting for you to be quiet so I can speak. I'm not going to compete.
but Kelly, not in that manner. Not in that manner. Nobody, believe me, what I
It's Frank,
seen,
honestly, if I was president, it would have been handled differently, but I'm not.
Right.
but I think any of yous are sitting up there and you see something like that, you bring the police out, you have them there, but you don't use them. They could have squashed this immediately. And then you also could have, by bringing out the results of that. Don't tell me that you're following the rules all the time, because we sit here, we see what's going on. Here's another issue. How did you know there was no weapons in that audience? Did you think to ever check anybody? I'm not picking on you, Kelly.
No, you're not picking
I'm
on
talking
me.
you, council,
You're
as
not
a
saying anything
group.
that wasn't.
That was an
said.
ideal
You're
situation
not
for
saying
that.
anything that wasn't said.
It was just terrible.
And honestly, Frank, the reason we flagged and Sharon the number of people in that room, the reason that we said at that point we needed to pare down the crowd, it wasn't just the sheer number, but when people stood at that podium and started inciting the mob mentality to come out,
Yep.
it got unsafe.
Yep.
And that's when I worried about weapons and this and physical harm. It wasn't just the sheer number. It was about the behavior of the people speaking, the behavior of the crowd then yelling and, getting everyone riled up.
Not only that, Heather, they degraded council. They didn't respect council whatsoever. The mayor, chief, the borough manager, that's what teed me off. They took over the meeting. They controlled the meeting, and that's what teed me off. I still felt that the council, the mayor, whoever, the police chief, whatever, they could have done something about that, and nobody did nothing. And that's what had me so burnt up. I
Did
had
you
a,
see they had pizza delivered?
I,
And they were passing out pizza in the middle of the meeting,
yep.
walking between the
Yep.
speaker and the board?
Well, I would hope
That's the pinnacle of respect
I would hope
there.
Columbia would never go through this again, the Borough Council. I had a lot of comments. They sit down, had a lot of talks. Now they're coming out and saying, well, the sleazy mayor and his 7 dwarfs could have did something at that meeting and didn't. These are people that wasn't even there that brought this stuff up. Now they're labeling council because they let this stuff go.
Frank, Gene and I are up at the PSAB conference this week. We're up there every day.
Who was up?
Gene and I.
Oh, okay.
And I had no less than 5 people come up to me so far and say they either read the stories, heard the stories, or saw a video came across their Facebook feed. And they were from across the state. And they wanted to know the story. So no, it was not a good look for Columbia.
And I just felt you being in power had the authority to stop that, and you just sat on it. And then it even come out about the mayor being in office 25 years. Apparently he didn't learn nothing, because I'm sure he could have stood up and made a big difference if he thought to do so.
No, hold on, Frank.
Go ahead.
The chief and I talked prior to the meeting that day. And we had officers were stationed at certain places. If you saw, the chief was on one end of the table. I was on the other end of the table. We made it known that if And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if we were looked at and given the nod, we were going to act. We had several people in that audience targeted that they were officers were watching, and if there had been one false move, they'd have been out of there. So the department was sitting there ready to act, but didn't get the go ahead. And I don't have the authority to do that at that meeting, as much as I would have loved to. I left it up to the council's meeting. We didn't get the call, so we didn't act. But believe me, every one of those officers in there that night were poised and ready to act. And all they needed was the nod.
Well, there was one.
And I'll agree with you. It was terrible. It was terrible.
There was one officer out there. I'd never seen him before, and I don't know if he was from Hempfield or somewhere else, but he told me who all the groups were, where they were from, and they were congregating outside, and I really appreciated that. But he said, "You better get in there. You won't get a seat." Well, my good friend here saved me one. But still, I just hated that they degraded council. I try to respect you as much as I can, but there's times that I just can't. But
Frank, I give you credit for what you did at the meeting. We've had our differences over the years, not just, I don't mean personal, but council. And to give you credit, I'm not going to mention anybody's name. Somebody in this borough came up to me and said, "Boy, it's a rough meeting when Frank Dowtrick is sitting there and he is the voice of reason in the middle of a meeting."
well,
Wow.
I try to be respectful. I was sitting there too, but believe me, if I would have been sitting there that night, Eric Kaufman probably would have resigned the next day, because I would have chewed him out bad. And I still think he ought to resign for not just sitting there with his hands. You had the 5-minute break, and I said to Eric, "You've got to do something about this." Well, he says, "We're going to sweat them out." You're not sweating them. You're sweating all of us out. You're making all of us. Yes, that's what he said. And believe me, it's just, I'll never forget that meeting. And I don't know what yours are going to do at the next meeting that they have. But also, I'm hearing that they're putting these data centers in all over. And I agree, you did the right thing at that meeting. I'll get off of that subject. I just got one other thing here. What is being done with the tow truck ordinance that we have? It's my understanding that over the years, it was supposed to be, as one gets called that night, now they rotate. There was 3 of them that rotated. Is this still going on?
Frank, you keep bringing this up, and I don't think anyone has actually addressed this, but this is not an ordinance.
It's not an ordinance.
This is a operational matter, and it's not under the purview of council.
Nope.
I mean, this is one of those non-legislative things that we delegate to the manager, to the police department for operational procedures.
But Heather, council or the mayor, not the mayor, council or the police department has been running this and controlling this. So if it's not an ordinance, they shouldn't be doing this then.
No, it's the police department.
The
Council has not been.
council has nothing to do with this, and the
Nope.
police department, when they have a policy, they have a procedure for when they need to call a tow truck. And that is handled strictly by the police department.
Right.
That's not in our purview.
Yeah,
So-
Frank, for years, you're absolutely right, for years, and up until, unless it changed and I wasn't aware of it, the officers picked like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That way, I went through this several times with Glenn Keller over the years. And what would happen is if someone gets called and they don't respond, they lose their turn until it comes back around again. The department is in the process of putting that policy in place. One of the problems we have that we didn't act on it right away, but it is in place right now. But in order to enact the policy, because the department is going through certification. It has to be, the policy has to be written, sent to the certification group, and they have to approve it. And then comes back to us and is enacted. So it's a matter of, it's not just us creating a policy and putting it in place. Although in the interim, we're still going to 1, 2, 3. One of the sticking points right now is how do you do it? Do you set it up by the week, by the month, or by the day? Okay, and we're talking with the chief is talking with the officers. What is the best way for them to implement this? Do they want to do it weekly, monthly, or whatever? But it has to go to certification and come back. The other part of that people don't realize is if you're involved in an accident and your vehicle must be towed, you have the right to call any tower that you want. So many times when other towers see other groups making the tow, they just assume that the police department did that. And many times it isn't. The individual who owns the car said, no, I want XYZ to pick my vehicle up. Just like me, if I was involved in an accident and I get my work done, say at Apple, I would say, no, call Apple, have them come pick it up, because I don't want to pay a tow bill to tow it somewhere and then have to tow it somewhere else to be fixed.
And also insurance companies.
Yeah.
So, like
yeah,
someone
my
calls
insurance
State
company.
Farm and they say, oh, I need roadside assistance because I wrecked my car. State Farm is going to call whoever State Farm is going to call to do it.
So it's 3As.
Right. And AAA is the same thing.
So it's weird, but we will have a policy that says this is who's called whatever day or week, first, second, third.
I think they all want this. They all want a policy. Of the ones that I talked to, I didn't talk to all of them,
Yeah.
but they all want a policy, and there's a lot connected to that. Maybe you want to call the Ford garage to come pick your car up. Well, that could be an extra hour or something like that. And if the car's in the center of the road or whatever, there's so many issues. This was why we wanted to sit down with council, get them all here, find out their issues. But how are you going to do that? You're going to do it like it was done. What was the guy's name across from Savemore up on the hill that did that for years? Jeff. Jeff, yeah. My understanding, he got mostly all the towing, and I guess that's where Keller come in. You know,
Yeah. But Glenn, God love him, Glenn would only take the calls he wanted. And then
yeah.
he'd say, I'm not getting any calls. Well, after a while, I guess people got tired of calling Glenn. And then there again, Jeff had the body shop, and Glenn wasn't doing the body work anymore. So, what do? You get the body shop to pick it up, because that's where it's going to end up.
Yeah, well,
It's not an easy thing, but we're going to set the policy, and it won't be perfect because of all the other implications to it.
but Leo, how do you do that without getting their take? How do you come up with all this information where truly my gut feeling is this has been done wrong all the time it's been done? And how do you do that with not having the people here?
How much different is it to do 1, 2, 3, or whatever? You can't make it any different.
Well, but if you got them here, you'll find out why maybe number 1 was called more than number 2 when you find out when they're padded little extra dollars here and there.
I'm
or-
sure there'll be, because of the certification, there'll be a record keeping.
That's part of accreditation, is the documentation of who's being called, when, by what officer. And a lot goes into it, like the mayor said. They have to have certain insurance. Everything has to be state regulated. So, and we're looking at within 3 to 5 miles. We don't want citizens having to travel 10 miles outside the borough to get their car. So there's a lot of moving parts. And like I said, everything that we do now moving forward has to go through the accreditation company. And then it comes back to us, and then we review it. So
This group, you said, Leo, you get all the information together. You have to send it to this group and then they approve it or whatever they do. Who is this group?
It's an accreditation company.
it's called aspiring consultant.
Oh,
Thank you.
They
Yeah, I never heard of that.
They do the accreditation to for police departments in Pennsylvania to be listed as a certified police department.
Okay, I just never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of record keeping.
Thanks for listening.
Great. Is there anyone else that did not sign up that would like to speak? Yes, Scott.
Scott Frederick. To address some of your points, Frank, I am your bud, but I respectfully disagree in the respect that council doesn't deserve to be blasted like they just were. In my opinion, it was an extremely emotionally charged meeting. You showed a lot of restraint. I thought when that one girl was dropping the F-bomb, I kind of tuned her out at that point. And then another girl talked for 11 minutes. I mean, I kept looking at Eric going, I mean, come on. I mean, it's supposed to be 10, right? Is that my understanding? 5? I thought we upped that till 10.
It's 10.
It's
And-
10, but
Okay.
basically there's no time limit.
Right, it's 5, and then you can ask for another 10 minutes and get it. I thought you guys showed a lot of restraint. The abuse, if we want to call it that, toward council and the representatives. Although I thought it got out of hand at some times, at some points, I can honestly say that I can understand it, and it was warranted to a certain degree. Councils in the past, like it or not, this council is taking the brunt for prior councils that have disregarded citizen comments. If they'd be taken to heart, that property wouldn't have even been bought, because it was overwhelmingly do not buy it when it was bought. And we have some people that really pushed it through, and it seemed like it was pushed through during the middle of the night. Honestly, I don't think, again, you guys, you showed a lot of restraint. Kelly, I commend you, because at times, yes, people shut up and listen to what the speaker is saying. It got out of hand a little bit, but because it was such an emotionally charged thing, you got to give the citizens, Frank said they were out of control. We are they. So they were conveying to council what our thoughts were, and it needs to be taken to heart. It needs to be taken to heart, because we are the taxpayer. We are the ones that are footing the bill. You guys have been entrusted by votes to make a determination, but you can't disregard your constituents. And it has to be open, and it has to be a very clear process.
I'd just like to respond to that. I mean, and there's a lot of people on council here, sitting here that have been on council. I've been on council for 14 and a half years. I have worked with people from Mike Bury and Vern Detz on up to the current council. So a lot of different personalities, a lot of different viewpoints, et cetera, et cetera. I have never worked with a council that just said, "Oh, the hell with it. We'll just disregard what they say." What the public says has always influenced decisions that are made. Always. Not sometimes, always. And I will tell you this much too. How bad that meeting was, you wonder why you can't get anybody decent in this town to run for council, to fill some of these vacancies, or even volunteer their time for these boards. Why in God's name would you want to submit yourself to crap like that? Why? You'd have to be insane. My wife tells me all the time, "You've got to be crazy. You're going to be 16 years so that you're done." Why? I said, because I want to see the town better. If people don't believe that, I don't care.
Well, my wife
Can't help it.
has suggested that I run for council. I say, and I've told Ethan,
Get
I've
thick
told,
skin, start rubbing lemon on it right now.
well, no, I have a thick skin
And so-
because I don't
Irish.
care.
I'm Irish.
I
so,
don't
you know,
care
it's
what
been
people
done-
think
it's been
about
done
me.
for time.
But my take is people don't want to hear the truth. And if you are full and you are right in their face and you tell them what you know to be true with the information that you have at hand, people don't want to hear it. And
It's very true.
I'm one of these, you know what? You can go diddle yourself in the next room because I don't care what you think as long as I know in my heart of hearts what is right, what is just, and what is fair to everybody. That's the most important thing. I was going to make one other comment, but it went. So thank you for listening. I just had to get up and address some of the points that Frank made. Honestly, I think you guys did pretty darn well. I thought, yes, it was a very high charged thing. And as far as the AI centers going up all over, let them go up all over. We can't take it here in this town. We shouldn't take it. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to say, Scott,
Yes.
is, everyone, I often hear what you said about you don't listen to the people. Well, there's always multiple sides to the
Absolutely.
issue. And no matter what decision is made, it's always going to be against what someone believes.
Yeah, you can't please all the people all the time.
Exactly.
So please,
So you say people were overwhelmingly against
the purchase
whatever. However,
and the
we
sale.
go by the people that are coming to officially address us and also that we unofficially see in our daily lives.
Absolutely.
And I can honestly say when I sat here and voted for that purchase, because Eric and I are the two that were here that
I
voted
didn't
for that
name you.
purchase.
I didn't name you, but I said there were
wanted to.
two.
I know you wanted
I have
to.
some discretion.
But you know what? When we were sitting here making that decision, the majority of the feedback we were hearing at the time was, yes, we want a vehicle for economic development. We want something to happen that is going to expand our tax base. And this is the way to do it. And that is the feedback we heard. I'm not listening to the people that have the mob mentality on Facebook.
Right.
I'm not listening there. So if that's where you're saying that's where the people are talking, that they're keyboard warriors in my mind. Come and talk to me officially.
Well, I was at the meetings during that time of the purchase. And I'm not going to ask you individually, the members of council, what they think. But when I spoke last week, I've always been a proponent of this. No municipality should own a for-profit property. If you're using it for municipal use, great. But if you're using it with the intent to make money off of it, that's a conflict of interest because you're making the ordinances and the provisions that that property owner has to abide by. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right, and I never will.
Let me speak to that.
Go ahead.
The borough bought the property, okay? Not to make money off of, but to control what went there. If the borough would not, if someone else would have bought that property, you could have had housing in there. You could have had factories in there, warehouses, the data center and all. You could have had that whole myriad of people could have put it in there. By the borough owning it and selling it the way they did, they had some control.
They never sold it, Mayor.
Hmm?
You never sold the property.
I don't know what you're
You
saying.
said when we had it and we sold it.
No. When we purchased the property, I may have missed it. When we purchased the property, we had control, okay, over who bought it and what they bought it for. Okay? Someone could have bought that from the family and put a data center in there. They could have put a warehouse in there, anything that fit within that zoning at that time. They could have put it all in there. And we said, we don't want to take that gamble and have something in there that's not going to be conducive to the community. So we're going to buy it and then we'll sell it. And then we'll have the right, by being to selling it, we have that right to find out what is going to go in there. And as you saw, the planning commission changed the zoning and only allowed certain things within that district so that the borough can control what's going to happen there. If the borough didn't own it and someone bought it, they could have done whatever zoning would have allowed.
Zoning, which we, council,
Right.
controls.
And with that whole thing, here's one of the most important things that came out last week that has to come out and has to be done. Before anything, this is me speaking now, before anything's done with that property, one of the first things that has to happen is there needs to be, for data centers, let's pick on data centers, okay? Not other, for data centers, there has to be a text amendment that says you can do this, 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 and this, and you can't do other things. There are certain things you can't do. That has to happen because data centers are coming, and I don't know if we'll ever put a data center there. That's up to the borough and whoever. But regardless, someone could come in and offer the borough $6 million for it and say, well, we're going to hold it and we'll see what we're going to do with it. Okay? They could turn around the next day and put a data center in.
Not if it's against the zoning,
That's why.
Boom.
No,
not.
it's
Boom.
allowed.
Done.
It's allowed.
because just last year you guys put it in that it is allowed.
It has to
Take
be,
it out.
It has to be allowed
Has to be
somewhere
allowed
in your
somewhere.
municipality.
By
No,
law.
it doesn't.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
does.
does.
That
It's
is
the law.
It
state
has to be
law.
allowed
Law.
in Columbia Borough.
Any.
Yes,
Really?
Yes.
in state law, your zoning ordinance must allow for every possible use. If it does not, you run the risk of being taken to court and they can declare that you are being exclusionary, in which case they would offer a curative amendment, meaning the court would tell you how you have to change your zoning ordinance. And the
Okay.
court would say, you have to allow it.
Yes.
That's the
You can
state
put it
You
in-
law.
have to allow the possibility of it,
You can put it anywhere.
Yes, you can put it
the
anywhere.
possibility of it, but you guys, in effect, vote on it.
But if we
No.
do not have it in the
If it meets
zoning
the zoning-
ordinance, if we don't have it in the zoning ordinance,
There's no vote.
then there's no vote for it. It can go anywhere because the court says it can. That's the way it works.
Yeah, there's some other businesses over the years that we took that same route to tell them where they couldn't be, shall we say. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, the state law is very clear, and that's why municipalities are trying very hard to get the ordinances in place, because you can't just tell someone, no, you can't locate that here, because all it's going to take is couple of people going to court. Now your municipality spending a whole lot of money on solicitor costs, and you're fighting against
You're gonna
state law. You can't say you're not allowed to do that here.
Okay, we'll just say no whenever anybody says that they want to put an AI center out there. I think everybody knows that it would be catastrophic for our environment,
If we own it, we can do that.
and that's the case now.
And that's why we bought it.
I don't agree with that decision, but okay, there might be some upside to
That's
it
why we bought
in
it.
that case. But keep in mind what Columbia Borough has said last week. That's all I ask.
You know,
Thank
if you put just one side note. If you were to put residential housing in there, in the back part probably meets the 1 mile threshold that Columbia Borough School District would have to bus every student in Columbia.
Yep.
So that was another one, why we didn't want housing in there.
No, but the issue there, Frank, you can't, is the majority of those retirement communities are nonprofit. And the whole point of of getting that parcel was to expand the tax base.
No, Frank, I would consider it, as long as it's
I
for
would too.
profit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
no,
it was not enough.
and we don't get pilots for that either.
Hello, everyone. My name's Damien. I live here in Columbia. I spoke with the mayor last week about the data center.
Damien, can you give your last name just so we have it for the
Yeah, it's
record?
Damien Barn. I've been living in Plain Street since COVID. I bought my house during COVID. Thank God I didn't buy it now. But anyway, some of the things that have been brought up is there is possible ways that we could restrict the data center, even though it's against state law, right? And that's up to our state representatives that they want to put in a momentum to stop the data centers, which, be frank, they probably will never do that. I have some borough ordinances and some text amendments. If you'd like to look over them, it puts a tax on anything that they produce, it restricts them using our electrical grid. If they use a certain percentage over the normal use of a warehouse or a regular house, that are taxed, for every 1%, it would be 5%. So it would be like a rebate. Those are some of the things you can do legally to possibly prevent a data center from going in. I work 2 jobs. I work 17 hours a day, usually. I'm tired. But when I was able to talk to citizens for an hour, just going around asking them what they thought, out of the 100 people that I was able to talk to in an hour, all of them said they didn't want a data center. So how many people is that in an hour? Significant amount of people. So that's just being said. Kids my generation don't want to come up and say anything because they feel like they have no voice. We've been taught we have no voice, whether that be from our parents or media. I think it's my job to start getting involved. I didn't even know about the meeting until I saw it on Facebook. Maybe there's a way that we could, bring it to younger generation's eyes a little bit better, and there is a problem with how people act, but that's been that way since COVID. People can't handle their emotions properly anymore. And that's sad. It is, but there's nothing we can really change, honestly. So that's something I have brought up. And if the mayor would like to see those copies, I have them.
Yes, I'll be glad to.
We have a
And
bunch of
matter of fact, if you read the bills that were put forth to the legislature, it's just about it. They touch on every one of the things you're saying, but that's what I was saying just before you spoke. It's imperative that this council puts together that text amendment saying, this is what you can do, and then that's the list. So anybody coming in here to do, this is what you can do. The only bill in that whole package of bills that stands a chance of passing, we were talking about this before the meeting. The only one that stands a chance of passing is there's a bill that says that directs Department of Community and Economic Development to come up with a model ordinance listing all these things that you can't have, you can't do, so that municipalities can use that model ordinance. There's a lot of small municipalities that can't afford the money that it takes to create that. Some of them don't even have zoning to create all that. And that's some of the places they're picking on with the data centers. So that one could pass, but the other ones won't pass. I'm almost willing to say, I'll bet you they won't pass because the state legislature doesn't want to create rules that the municipalities have to go by. They would rather see the municipality do its own, create its own rules. And I agree with that. So, now the governor came out and he had some things in the paper and he had some rules and regulations.
Yeah.
But everybody forgot to read the fine print on it
Daily
is,
dollar short.
if you want their money, you will meet this criteria. So it wasn't for all of us. It was, if you're after our money, you'll meet this criteria. But this is good stuff, and this, we'll get this over to council and all, and a lot of this needs to be put into that text amendment.
I did that on the 3 hours I have available during the week.
You gotta sleep sometime.
And I got 2 kids during the time for sure.
And now school's out.
It's little again.
Oh,
It's
okay.
little.
I will mention that last week in the packet, the ordinance that we moved past is exactly what you're talking about, of a way to restrict what data centers can and can't do. Now, that was compiled by the solicitor, mostly just grabbing ordinances from nearby areas. So it's not comprehensive, and it is not in a state that we were going to vote on it. It was just a discussion item. But you can bet that we are going to work to get that to be as strict as possible. And that in the case that a data center does build somewhere in Columbia, because we have to allow it somewhere, it is as restrictive as possible to minimize any sort of effects on any citizens.
Like I said, it's in there.
Yeah.
There's tax benefits that the borough could be getting.
Yeah.
Because you might get the initial tax benefit up front, but then 5 to 6 years down the road, it's up to the citizens to then pay for
Mhm.
the area.
Yeah.
So in that, you're able to tax AI producing whatever, storage or whatever. Just like we're working there at the warehouse, we're taxed for working in the warehouse, but we don't really produce anything to put it on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So they're producing something, so we should be able to get some tax benefits on that.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, and as we have that discussion, that'll be something that publicly we talk about for sure. And there'll be plenty of chance for us to get feedback on that through the process. Just hoping to get it passed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I don't want to drag this thing on, other things to do. One of the things that I see mentioned quite a bit is any electricity they use will not cause residential electricity rates to rise. So that's in just about every one of the bills I've seen.
And most of them require bring your own power.
Yeah,
You have to
and
build a substation.
and one thing you gotta understand, these data centers are evolving. Most of them are running water systems that are closed looped. They're not drawing water out of the river or anything like that.
Some don't even use water.
Yeah, and they're also generating their own electric. A lot of them. And I talked to a gentleman who's in this field, and he said the new generation of data centers, what was proposed out there is like a mini. Wouldn't use very much of anything that a lot of discussions.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a very supercharged discussion, and the people that live out Manor and that end of town, are fortunate that they had this process ahead of time. I mean, when I was doing my, like I said, doing my research, talking to people all over town, same way, and I got responses the other way. Okay, well, I understand their concern, but geez, how do you think I feel living next to a certain foundry and I have to smell that all night long? Or I live in this other one, and that's just as bad. And I'm only here since 2002, so it didn't affect me, but they're like, oh, geez, and what about all of us that live when they put Route 30 through there, all the people that got their homes taken from them and displaced, and now everybody that lives out there listens to the drone of a highway all night long. So, I mean, everyone needs to understand you're dealing with other people who've been through it too.
They find balance.
All right, state your name.
I'm Colette Shaw, 1L.
I really appreciate the work you do, and it's not a fun job, and it's a lot of noise. I've had one of those jobs, and I get it, and now I have time to volunteer. And I would like to become more of an active part of Columbia. If I were a webmaster, I would volunteer my services there. There is a volunteer form on your website. I don't know where it goes, and I'd like to help with that. The bios for our council people are outdated on the website. But if I could help, I would like to. I had a job where I took a lot of bullying from bazillionaires, but maybe now it's my time to leverage some of those relationships to see if someone can have a vision for that field that is beautiful, that maintains the beauty of it. Mr. Doctor, is that your name, Frank? If you are pro data center behind my house, I would love to invite you to my house. And we'll have iced tea and we'll look out on that land. It's not just the water stuff, it's also the noise. And that's real. And I would invite any of you. I regret the other night, I know you called us they. I was one of the people that did try to bring the temperature down that night. And that is a superpower that I have. If you could leverage that, I am at your service. But, oh, yeah, I think we need imagination and a real vision that is worthy of Columbia and relationships that can bring people that could share that vision. And it's not just data centers or nothing. I think there are some amazing things right in our county. We've watched Lidditz reinvent itself with Rock Lidditz. Like, who brought that up at a council meeting? Like, I have this idea that we'll bring Lady Gaga and Beyonce, and they'll want to hang out in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Or what Spooky Nook did, creating the athletic stuff. Like, who brought that up and got laughed out of a council meeting that night, but then they did it. So that is where I would really love to help, if I can help with creativity and relationships. I'm here. We have wonderful neighbors that I want to support, and thank you for making this space available.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Write that name down.
Yeah, Colette, could you hand us a copy of your email address or a card or anything before you head out tonight?
All right, is there anyone else? Last call for comments. All right, moving on. Leadership committees, legislation. Kelly, do you want to walk us
Sure
through
thing.
166 and 112?
Yeah. First of all, 166 is on first, so we'll go through that first. But just 112 is basically unchanged from last summer. I forget which one I wanted to look back on it. I forgot, but it was quote unquote reviewed and given the stamp of approval by council, even though we never went forward with it, because 112 and 166 are tied together. And when we worked on both of them, there were pieces we took out of 112 and moved to 166 and vice versa. So you can't really approve one without the other.
Right.
Anyways, in your packet, you have 166, which has been, oh God, is this 2 years, Paula? For me, at least. 2 years of working on 166. And a lot of change in there. That was, shall we say, previous to this. But the highlights in red specifically are the newest additions, deal with parking, deal with the slumlord definition and how we handle slumlords in town. And it has been also reviewed, sent to our solicitor, and he sent us his feedback and comments on things that need to be put in there as far as disruptive conduct and other items like that. So at this time, I just say if council has any specific, I'm hoping everybody had time to read it. That's why we sent you plenty of time. It is very lengthy. It's very comprehensive. It is the It is the cornerstone of our, to me at least, it is the cornerstone ordinance of our codes. It's chapter 166 is rental property. So there's lead safe. It deals with lead safe. We have all the definitions in here from.
Yeah, we've added a few.
Yeah.
In the packet, the first document is the existing ordinance.
Yeah.
And then the second is what we're proposing to change it to. And if there's no other changes at this point, we'll take this and actually put it into the ordinance that we will be adopting. Because we really only have to put in there the stuff that's changing, the stuff that's being added and deleted. And then we would bring that back to authorize to advertise. Mhm.
On the required off-street parking, and then on the all owner-occupied single-dwelling residential properties, which are converted into a residential unit, must provide 2 off-street parking spaces on the premise. And then somewhere else I read, I'm just not seeing it right now, that those 2 parking places had to be in the same, on the premise, in the same lot that the ADU was in.
Oh yeah, that's at the top of the next page. ADU is also required too.
Yeah, and I don't understand, like, if they have a parking place down around the corner, can't they park there? Or if the guy owns another property, the parking place is in it. Couldn't they park there instead of,
Who keeps track of that as far as enforcement? You know what I'm saying? It becomes an enforcement nightmare. You're expecting our police, our codes, our parking enforcement to go around and be trying to say, oh, well, that car belongs to that property, so it's okay with that one belongs to that property.
That's
It
the problem
becomes
we've had.
a nightmare.
As Kelly said, that's the problem we've had from the get-go. I can tell you right now, there are properties that came to zoning and their parking requirements. They said, oh, we don't have them on premise, but we are renting parking from XYZ business. After a while, when you attend enough zoning meetings, you find that they probably leased parking for twice as many parking spaces as that the business had.
yeah,
So, and we had no way to keep track of that. And they could have said, we've had this happen. I'm going to rent 2 parking spaces from the person down the street here. They could have made 1 month payment and never paid again. We don't have no record. So you can't control that off-street parking unless it's on the premise.
I'll say that after reviewing this and looking into this, since the last time we discussed this about 2 months ago, I've spent a good amount of time trying to learn about parking issues. I went through 5 different PDFs that somebody from the county sent me and attended the PSAB training on parking. I will say that personally, I don't believe that we should include that parking minimum, that requirement as part of this, mostly because every resource that I have found from the county and from other locations outside of Pennsylvania and Lancaster all suggest to either reduce or entirely cut minimum parking requirements. In some cases, in this document from the county, says that instead we should be adopting a maximum parking space limit rather than requiring minimums. Basically, the idea being with the shortage in housing, the space can be either better utilized for more housing or leave it up to the developer to make that decision rather than us saying we need to have this minimum. So after reading through the document, I love all the stuff with the slumlord ordinance and all those definitions, but I don't think that we should include that parking minimum.
If you didn't do that, you could not park in Columbia Borough.
Yeah.
If you had that many vehicles on the streets, you could not park anywhere near your residence.
I'm just being honest with you. in 14 and a half years, one of the most common threads every year, every week, is people complaining about, I never have any place to park. And you know, my neighborhood's, you know, there's row homes, and there's person, and they're entitled to it. They have a row home, and they have 4 cars for 1 row home. Where would you like to put them? Well, you put them on the street because they're entitled to it, obviously. Where am I supposed to park? I built 4 parking spaces on the back of my property. Just so I didn't have to, just so I had a place to put my cars and have a place to go. I mean, and I'm fortunate to have that, but there's other people that don't have it. So if we don't, I know what you're saying about other areas, but Columbia, I mean, when it comes to parking, Columbia is a different bird. I mean, really, I mean, it's very, you see it, the housing is so compact. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I voted against, you know, everybody said, well, you were voting against the certificate of appropriateness. I voted no because I didn't feel it was appropriate to rebuild a home in an alleyway, when to me, the alleyway should be cleaned out and be used for parking to, you know, wherever possible to ease some of this congestion. It's the housing in Columbia is so densely packed, and so, I mean, it's, unless you build up, you know.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And a lot of the stuff that it talks about here are the longer term effects of having these parking minimums. So I understand that it's not a perfect solution, but also I think the longest term solution is to do what we can to make Columbia more walkable and have things that way people don't need to have a car at all. But I just have some concerns about it being the 2 parking minimum. Even if we like dropped it to 1, still had a parking minimum. I've seen other places instead change it to the number of bedrooms rather than the entire number of units. Because
it changes from owner to owner. You know what I mean? So you have
It was at 1 for years.
Yeah, it was.
It was. The parking was an issue.
And a lot of those municipalities that are suggesting that they cut back have parking garages and
Parking garage.
structures that
Yeah.
We're parking up.
Yeah, I mean,
we have
a
none.
pretty significant public transit as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Columbia
There's
does
people
not
from, they know,
have that.
10 years ago when I was on council, I was president of council, we were actively pursuing a downtown parking garage. And basically got laughed at. Oh, you need that. Now, everybody's like, where's the parking garage? That's how it changes in not even 10 years.
And I see this as one of those times where we are actually listening to our public, listening to our residents, telling us that parking is an issue, and the people that are coming in and renting and have 5 cars, you need to have regulations on that so that they're not parking all 5 of those on the street. So that's the way I see it. This is something we've been asking for.
I understand. Usually the data shows kind of the opposite, where people who are renters usually either will only have 1 car per unit or sometimes no car at all. And so
Well, you know, it is what it is. If it was a thing where neighbors were nice to each other, you know, I'd like to be that guy that works 4 to midnight every day and comes home at midnight and can't find 1 parking space within 3 blocks of his house. And it's raining or it's snowing. That's total crap. You know, he should be entitled to get parking near his house. And that really is what I think this addresses. For me at least, anyway. I mean, I went through my first home I bought was when I was in my 20s, my first home was in the city of Reading. Good luck. You know what I mean? Drive around in circles. Oh, somebody's pulling out. Zip up there, quick, and get in there. If you were lucky. And I don't want people to, I mean, it's not a good situation. I mean, there's no golden spoon here with parking, really. You just try to find a middle ground that you can live with.
Well, I think some of the data, if you're living in an apartment, more, well, you know, chances, there is a chance that you won't have a vehicle or have one.
Yeah.
But the one that really puts the problem on us is the single family rental. You got a 14-foot wide house and 3 22-foot cars. It don't compute.
And they don't have the place to go to another apartment.
Right, and the people that are renting the single-family home are not the ones that are not gonna have the people.
I wanted to bring it up, that that's a concern that I currently have.
No, I appreciate that.
Sharon, you want to speak?
Yeah. Yeah.
I find,
Oh,
Everyone
no, I
knows
know.
how hard.
I know if you so or not.
I find myself agreeing with Kelly outside of the parking garage. We have adequate, what I'll call adequate parking on our block. And it has been comfortable for the nearly 10 years that I've been on that particular block. But recently, we have cars parking there routinely, leaving them all day, sometimes overnight, long periods of time that actually are on the opposite street. They're utilizing now our part. And it makes it tight for us when we come back and we don't know where we're going to go. So I would encourage you, I'm sorry, Ethan, but not to do what Ethan said.
That's okay.
Or suggested, because I think the parking actually is just getting worse in our area. And there's a recent home that sold where the woman lived there alone with one vehicle. Now a family moved in, and I see 2 vehicles and a work truck. So, now that's a new story. And the people in our block are getting older, so when they sell, it's going to be, certainly families coming in, not one vehicle parked there anymore. So, thank you.
I'm sure they love that one way too.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to get in and out.
Now it's my turn to get dunked on.
I like you. No, I feel another way to look at this is you're strictly looking at rental properties here. You're not looking at residential. But with rental properties, a single-family home being rented with 3 and 4 cars, we've got a couple of them on our block. If I didn't have a garage, I'd have no place to park. And it's been like that for years, because across the street is a 3-unit that has 6 cars there, or 7 cars and no off-street parking. The other thing I'm looking at is, once this is put into effect, that a single-family rental property needs on-premises parking, how many places in Columbia can you do that? Is this going to help cut down on the number of single-family properties being converted into rental housing?
It's going to.
That is a
It's going to
thought
help
I had.
homeownership for young families.
When I saw that, I thought, like on my block, I'm thinking, we've got a private alley in back of our place. But there's no way it's a grass alley. And we've got a rental property 2 houses in from 6th Street. And there's no on-premises parking there. And I think it's going to help that also if you push for the single-family rental on premises.
Yes. Hi, my name is Moises Hernandez. I'm a little curious on how this regulation, would it be conflicting anyway with if there's I'm not sure if there's a rule on how far from the corner a car has to be. Like when I'm driving around and I'm going through alleys, there are cars parked almost into the alley. There are cars that almost block my driveway. And that is the biggest issue for me because now I can't see my left or my right. So I was wondering if we're doing assigned parking in a certain sense, would we be able to enforce that corner rule more? Or would there be like some sort of conflict of interest there?
Well, there's state statute. State statute dictates how far you can be from a stop sign or a corner or curb, anything like that. So the police officers have a mandate from the state and are allowed to enforce any obstructions or anything that is a violation. So
You are correct, though. Late at night, you come home, and they're, I'm like, how the heck would you like somebody to use a crosswalk?
Yeah, I've had that
Tires
issue.
are in the
I
crosswalk.
drive out at night, I work at night as well, and there's a car parked there, it's black, I can't see. Turns out there's another car coming in, I almost have an accident because either they don't have the lights on, I can't see them, or it's blocked. Is there a specific department I should contact for those kind of cars in that corner? Just a police, okay.
Now, interestingly, you bring that up. The PSAB thing that I mentioned earlier did actually have a section on this about ways that while it is, generally it's just sort of painted on the curb and there's an opening, there were a lot of encouragements of alternative ways to sort of block off those sections to literally make it impossible for somebody to block in that area. And I think it's definitely something that we could consider doing, at the very least, trying it in a few intersections in Columbia, and then seeing how that affects traffic and parking and everything else, and then potentially do more of that depending on the cost. It is something I did want to get a chance to bring up, but haven't had the opportunity. But yeah, it's something we can totally look at.
One of the more popular is the curb bump out.
Yeah.
But the problem is that's expensive, quite expensive.
Yeah.
But
Also makes it hard for buses.
our public works manager, I talked the other day, he had, matter of fact, he did some already. They're painting the yellow lines. We're not painting the yellow lines. And the officers will cite, because of the parking situation that now exists in town. Sometimes you don't get to see it, or if it looks like in the officer's mind, if it looks like it could cause an accident, there's not enough sight distance, they will cite. But because parking is so tough, sometimes if it's a little close to what the allocation is, it might let it go. And I can understand that, and I won't fault them for it. But they know if it's safe, unsafe, they're getting a citation.
Yeah, I saw in Lancaster City, there's like a big curb up with a garden in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work here, but.
Well, we call them bump outs, but yeah.
We have some of those on Southeast Street.
And there are versions that you can do without having to create a full concrete setup. Like an example I have here is literally just some white poles that outline that shape to prevent people from being able to pull in there. But yeah, we can absolutely talk about that more and try to get something together.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Like that in combination with the cats, like I'm trying not to hit a cat, and then there's also that. Just a lot of things. Thank you so much.
Thanks. One of the nice things about the curb bump outs, when you do that, it decreases the distance that pedestrians have to go across the parkway. So instead of 30 feet across, they may only have 24 feet of road to go across.
And it helps slow people down
And
for
it slows down,
intersections.
absolutely.
Thinner.
That's looking.
Yeah,
Sure.
actually,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, Ethan made a good point. It definitely slows them down.
Yep.
Definitely see it.
Yeah, I've seen more. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's where there's a lot of cats that go there. Mary and I have had some good conversations about
Usually
it.
good.
I thought you said all your neighbors were feeding the
Yeah,
cats.
so Mary's out there in the neighborhood calling people in. She's like, you need to come to council with me.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
So she's out on 6th Street asking them to come to council to complain about.
And then she's calling the kids on the bikes to go around and start your my lights harder.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
We got it, Mary, we got it.
I wish there was, we talked about this off and on over the years, and it's never been popular. And I wish it would put a hell of a burden on Jake's department, but really, it would be awesome if we could mark off parking spaces with white painted lines too. I'm just being honest with you. There are a good number of people in this town that can't parallel park to save their life. They like 5 feet in front of their car, 5 foot in back, and there goes the space.
You know what's funny? Kelly,
But if they're
Tell you
in the
something.
lines, they'll be
Tell you
right.
something.
lines they could park, but it's
I-
about that first.
I'm just saying.
Sorry.
I'll tell you something that's funny about that. We had Derek do a study on 8th Street, South 8th Street,
And then he did Perry too.
and found out with the lines, we would have less parking than without the lines.
More cars.
Because
When you got a
the
smaller
issue is-
vehicle.
Yeah, The issue is bad parking behavior, not necessarily, that's the issue.
sorry,
And when
Marta.
you have good parking behavior,
Sorry.
like
about
on
that.
South 8th Street, where they were actually parked one after the other, you would lose spaces, whereas somewhere like the 800 block of Locust Street, where you may not have all those, but you have bad parking behavior because people are leaving these ginormous space between the things.
That's because they can't.
Right.
park in the park.
It's not always their fault though either.
Well, no,
Because that
it's
one
not.
person comes in and starts the parking for everybody else. Then you leave, someone's there, and it looks like, oh, you're taking up 2 spaces when it was the person in front of you, and it gets all messed up.
Right.
I like the line idea.
Yeah.
Jack,
All right. Anything else on the rental? Yes.
I debated bringing this up, but is there anything in the ordinance that covers travel trailers plus house trailers? And I'll give you an example. A place where I know there's numerous violations. I just seen them clear a spot, and it's a little bigger than a travel trailer, but it probably is a travel trailer. Set it up, put an awning out, have their morning coffee and all that. But anyway, is there anything in the ordinance that covers it?
Not in this ordinance, no.
Yes.
Chief.
Rich?
Not this ordinance, but
Not this particular ordinance.
Yeah,
It's
but
another one that we're working on.
Well,
We
no,
want to get these.
if you have a trailer,
Uh,
it's unhooked.
It's not, it's,
Yes, the unhooked.
Okay. There's a length of time, what is
Yeah.
it, chief? 4 hours, it has to be moved.
Oh my God.
Yep.
We got all kind of violations.
well, yeah,
Is there anything that says they can't park the trailer in front of their property? We see that at different places and it probably,
not in this one.
no,
No.
there's nothing in there. But honestly, in my block, there's someone living in a travel trailer in the alley.
so what do we do about that?
Yeah, that you pointed out, I went and checked it out. They have like tiki torches and
Yeah, it's a
everything out
nice little
there.
campground going on.
Yeah, there's a campground in the alley.
If the trailer is on a property and not on the road, does that mean it qualifies as the ADU in the definition for this rental property ordinance? Because I mean, like, if it's not
on the property,
if like yeah, like if in this case, like they pulled the trailer into the backyard or something and somebody is living out of it, wouldn't that be an ADU under this definition?
I would agree with you, yeah. They're living in it, they're living in it.
Yes.
Yeah, a self-contained smaller residential unit located on the same lot as a primary single-family home. So in that case, it could qualify as an ADU.
Actually, no, they
No?
could not, because they do not have water,
Water.
Okay, gotcha.
sewer,
Sewer,
and
water.
electric
They're not hooked up
hookups.
to utilities.
Gotcha.
They're not hooked up to
So they
utilities.
require, we should get that in that definition then, is include that they need to be hooked up for the ADU definition.
Yeah,
So that's allowed then? They're allowed to live in that as long as they want, no restrictions?
no. No, we currently don't have anything for an ADU.
Wow,
This is putting in.
that
the
could be
definition of
increasing
ADU.
with the way housing is.
Yeah.
I just seen this one go up and I just thought, that's all the other violations there, now here's another rental or
Yeah, I
whatever.
see trailers all over town. Yeah, there's a lot of.
We had one up on Cherry Street.
Yep.
Decided, I don't know how many times.
I know. I
But
know.
it's not just that, it's work trucks too. People, I mean, you know, so you work Monday to Friday for, you know, for Leffler, and then Saturday and Sunday you don't. That truck's sitting there all weekend, unmoved. You see them all the time. I get calls all the time.
I
This
know.
guy's been sitting here all the time, and I'll call down, see what they do.
I know, I pushed to have that added in our thing
Mhm.
many times, and I can't remember where it is, so. Because I completely agree that work trucks should have to
Yep.
be parked
Yep.
in a block
Yeah.
that is not, you know.
Should be on the street, they should be
Yep.
in a lot somewhere where they're leasing space for it.
Yep.
It's their work truck.
So. All right, we can make that, addition to the ADU.
Yeah, it's well,
Yeah,
I don't have my pen.
and,
Rushing around.
if there's no other suggestions or anything, we can prep that ordinance for to be advertised at a upcoming meeting. Kelly, would you be able to prep that ordinance?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm like
Cool.
super busy right now, with the wedding coming up and,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think my yard's in good shape now. I think my wife will maneuver it.
If you got your yard in good shape, I got the wedding, so. No, I'm not getting married. My daughter is next weekend, and it's driving me. I'm like going crazy. Yeah, no, I'm not getting married.
Name my
Been there, done that. Bought the shirt. I'm not doing it again. Yeah, my name's not changing, Frank. All right. While we're on legislation, I wanted to bring something up. I would like to ask council to consider. I mean, we would do this at the next meeting, but I would like to ask council to consider doing something, or directing staff to send letters of feedback to our representative and our senator to oppose some legislation that is currently going through the state legislature. House Bill 2155. This has passed the House, and it is headed to the Senate, and it would prohibit minimum parking requirements for any use in the zoning. Also, Senate Bill 1239. It's called the Cutting Red Tape to Expand Housing Options. It grants automatic approval for certain developments. It eliminates minimum and maximum densities, height restrictions, and excessive setbacks on lot size or lot coverage mandates. Both of these are just two. These are the two that are the closest to passing. But these are two of a host of current legislations that are meant to basically strip local municipalities of their zoning ability. When Leo sat here and said the state doesn't want to make legislation, they want the individual municipalities to do it. That's the case for data centers. But when it comes to other things, when it comes to zoning, they are actively working to strip local municipalities' ability to control their own zoning. And I would like us to consider directing staff to write letters to our senator and our representative, urging them to oppose any legislation that would strip zoning rights from the municipality. Local officials know their communities, and they have the right to set their zoning standards to dictate what is best for their community. We should not be told by Harrisburg that we have to accept any development that comes our way. We should not be told that we can't tell people we can't set a maximum density. That means we could have a high rise all over Columbia, and we would not be able to say anything about it. And if they strip out the minimum parking requirements, we wouldn't even be able to require a high-rise apartment building to have parking at all. So I think it's just they're not willing to step in on a data center issue, but yet on a zoning issue, they're willing to completely strip all ability from the local municipalities. So there's my soapbox.
We go again, huh?
And the primary goal is to increase density.
Their primary goal is to increase density, to build as much housing as possible without regard to how that's going to affect everyone,
Or impact the school district.
or impact the school district and everything else.
So how does that process of directing staff work? Is that just a?
It's
Is that
just,
vote?
we would just vote to say we would like staff to do that, and Jack would craft a letter and send it to Malone and Miller, saying that Columbia Borough, as a borough, urges them to vote no on any legislation that would preempt local zoning control. So if everyone is okay with that, I'll have that put on the next, put up for a vote for next week. Put that on the agenda.
And you can do that on your own too.
And yes, and we each individually can do it as well. But I would like it, I am asking that this come from the borough because I tend to think that holds more weight with our representatives when we do it as a group. Yes.
This is Moises again. Would constituents also be able to provide their own letter to you and you can send them all together to the office?
Yes, and, or you can contact them as well. That's always nice when constituents are contacting them outside of the municipality, because it shows them that individuals are paying attention, not just, not just council members.
Well, the truth of the matter is, they will look at what a resident sends them with more favor than what council will send.
That's what I was wondering. So if
Yes.
the residents had their,
You have more weight than what we do.
okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Yes.
That proposed bill that's going through the Senate.
One of them was House Bill 2155. I didn't get the other
The
number.
Senate 1239 is the cutting red tape to expand housing options. It grants automatic approval for certain developments, and it eliminates the minimum and maximum densities, height restrictions, excessive setbacks, and lot size or lot coverage mandates. So it pretty much says anything goes anywhere, and the municipality cannot do anything about it.
It basically guts your comp plan and your zoning.
It does, and it basically guts Saldo. I mean, it cuts it just cuts the Saldo, and that's the state law anyway. Exactly, it's,
Like you said, you all know some young law.
Yep.
And we're fairly close to Harrison. You all been up hearing something.
I just wanted to say that I think Columbia is way too small. I don't think people consider how small we are here. And if we keep building, it's not that I don't understand the need for housing, I do, but this is not the place to keep building up and making it more and more dense. It's all,
I know.
just don't see that that's the
I
right
know.
way to go. Thank you.
That's what the legislature's trying to do.
Before we move on to legislation, I did want to ask if we could take a look at amending the zoning, the way the zoning is currently set up for data centers. Currently, it's permitted by right in both light business and light industrial and general industrial, I assume the GI stands for. Okay. A lot of the suggestions I've read, including from the county, suggest having it be a special exception in places as, like, considering light business rather than permitted by right. So it does have to go before a vote. So I would like us to consider amending the zoning to have data centers be special exceptions in light business rather than permitted by right.
2. I missed a few others. Bills that are preemptive. You'll like this one, Mary. House Bill 1459 is requiring zoning ordinances to be revised to allow multifamily housing in urban areas zoned for office and retail. House Bill 2186 makes ADUs permitted by right in every zoning district. House Bill 2109, known as the Golden Girls Law, it legalizes shared living arrangements. And House Bill 2303 stipulates that the county, not the local municipality, but on a county level, needs to regulate short-term rentals. House Bill 2303. So there is, as I said, there is a whole bunch of preemptive legislation out there that I think we should just say, please oppose all preemption. Yes, they do.
True.
Yep. All right. Anything else on legislation? Nope. All right. Finance. In your packet, you have the finance reports. Are there any questions on that? The finance reports. No. And we have the general fund account balance as of 5:46. I have a question. Do we know when we will be presenting the bond? Have you heard?
I have not received any updates as of yet.
You may want to check with them to make sure they have received everything. I know that the solicitor sometimes would hold up our audit because he would not return his questionnaire.
Yeah, they usually have by June, by May.
Yeah, because it has to be filed by a certain time.
Yeah, that's right.
Are there any other questions or comments on finance? Community development. Who is that? I don't know.
It's Gina and Tom.
Gina and Tom.
I don't have anything to add.
You are still planning to have the homeless shelter meeting though again? You're going to reschedule that at some point
I
in
know,
time?
but it's not set.
Okay.
I'm waiting for adjustment. I just called it today.
You'll advise everybody when that occurs? Okay.
Anything else on that? Public Works.
You have a report from Jake. Anything you want to touch on, Jake? I mean, obviously everybody knows they started on Walnut Street already, so. Yeah, trees are all good. How's the waste recycling, the yard waste recycling coming on?
Yeah, yard waste recycling is going fairly well. Been down a little bit further because sale compost.
Good.
I will say we had a little setback up there. Took about a piece of steel.
Oh.
just like our old one, you could break more stuff up, because you has a lot of safety features. You stop, basically stop with, damage to the shanks, the whole covers, and I can move shanks and all that kind of stuff. Could have been a lot worse than screens and that stuff, but it's the first thing that happened.
Right here, yeah.
Are we able to determine where that came from?
My guess is probably, I hope that you put more stuff out in your list. Yeah. The facilities over on Saturdays, but it's possible that somebody could break off and it's good.
I can't imagine somebody put something out like that in a yard waste bag.
Yeah, it's about 20 pounds. It's under 20 pounds. So,
Thanks for sharing that. Unfortunately.
It isn't fixable.
yeah, I had ordered some forms for it. And that's
Unfortunately, that means it's downtime, so when it comes back up, then they're gonna be behind on chipping and everything else.
Sure is. I'm done trimming, so I won't contribute to the pile any longer.
Oh, yeah, then I'll stop doing my yard work.
And
There you go.
that'll be your
Stop your
reason for
foot.
your quick ticket.
Yeah,
I cannot do it.
yeah, and I'll come in and appeal my quick ticket because I can't do my yard work because.
Can't touch it. No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we get stuff from about half the municipalities in the county at this point. So. All right.
Thanks.
Anything else on public works? All right, public safety.
We have received the reports this month. The only thing we can touch upon is we do refer to Manager Brommer. We do have a current contract from Lifeline that's been signed into existence. And that is our 10-year contract that we talked about several meetings ago with a few changes.
It's significant change wise.
When we had this discussion, the discussion was that after a 5-year period, we're going to pay a per capita payment to Lifeline for their service. But that was discussed here.
Paula, do you have anything on the codes report?
On public safety, just a little interesting piece of information that we learned actually yesterday at the conference. Pennsylvania leads the nation in number of civilian fire deaths per year. Isn't that sad? You know, it's awful. And you know, you think about why, and you know, it's just awful. But yeah, we were kind of shocked to hear that from the state fire marshal.
Oh, and one last thing, I would be remiss in not thanking American Legion Post 372 for their generous contribution, and that was going to go to
The purchase of our new taser.
new tasers. So I mean, I know they're expensive. They wear out after a while, and that was very generous of the American Legion to donate that to the borough.
condemnation. It's nice to see three more properties back on the, back on being used again, so just sitting there empty. I know North 8th Street property, right around the corner from me, just got done, so neighbors are very happy to see that.
All about a month from each other.
Yeah.
And the ones that the condemnation's been lifted that were in vacant property reinvestment board that has the redevelopment authority been notified. Okay. Okay. Yeah, well, okay. We didn't talk about them in our last meeting, but I don't know. I haven't seen the things for this month yet, so. Okay, okay. All right. Anything else from this public safety? No, all right, market house report.
Nothing really to report there, but you have your report. The only thing notable is all the stands report at this time. And we also have a +1, which is another stand that's being used in a different area. So that's good to see too.
Anything else on there? All right, Parks and Rec. Oh, that's right, Michelle's on vacation there. Or Michelle is also on vacation. I don't know if we're together or not, but we're both on vacation. All right. Boards and commissions, we have one vacancy on the Parks and Rec Board. We have some alternate positions, 2 on the Zoning Hearing Board and 3 on Planning Commission. Volunteer applications will be considered through the 20th of each month. And then, if applicable, will be put on a council agenda to be approved. Borough Council comments. Councilperson Ziegler.
No, this meeting went a lot better than last week. So I'm thankful for that. But thank you for all your comments today. Appreciate the decorum today.
Nothing new, like I say, just glad to hear some calmer or an in-depth conversation rather than just yelling at each other. But one bright side at least, after last Tuesday night, that's it. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, off media, not checking emails. So I had 3 days of myself. Needed it to get my sanity back. So.
Just it's nice to see some new faces.
This Heather and I are learning a lot of new stuff in classes, and I'm looking forward to being able to utilize some. We've already got some going on. So it's awesome. That's all I have.
I don't think I have anything. The only thing I was going to mention was the zoning thing, but got to that in legislation, so nothing from me.
As Jean mentioned, we are learning a lot. Jack's learning a lot, hearing a lot of feedback. We also, are hearing that it's always nice to know that you're not alone in stuff. Data centers is a huge conversation in just about every session we've been in. Feral cats has been brought up in several of the sessions that I've been in. So we are not alone. This afternoon, we had a session and there was a pretty lengthy conversation about contentious council meetings and council being subjected to some pretty raunchy behavior and just what we experienced last night. So it's nice to know that we are not alone. I mean, one girl has had death threats from members of the public, and then one of the people that threatened to kill her is now on council with her. I feel bad for the girl. Like, yeah, I know. Can you imagine? Yeah, like how does that happen? But one of the things that I have taken away and I'm gonna process it and bring it up in a future workshop. I got a model ordinance from a municipality that places a fee on every PA skills machine in their municipality. And it's done by ordinance. And they're making like $20,000 a year. One municipality is making like 80 grand on the PAs based on how much they do. And my big concern on this was I know a lot of our fraternal organizations have them in there, but the fee is charged to the owner of the machine, and those fraternal organizations do not own the machine. They just host them. So the owner would have to pay, not the Legion or the VFW or any of that. So I'm going to, I pulled that ordinance and I'm going to be presenting that at a future meeting.
Yeah.
So another way to answer.
Definitely interested in that one.
Yep.
There was a lot of talk about the state looking at taxing those
Yes,
last year. I'm assuming
They're
that
still-
they're still
yeah.
mulling it.
they're still mulling it.
They've most of
So, yeah, I know,
They're good
they
mowers.
can't ever get themselves together.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
upcoming
Rebel Brothers
meetings,
said it.
the next
Somebody
meeting
else they
will be
wanted.
7 PM on Tuesday, June 9th. Council will hold a regular meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Councilperson Easy. Second by Councilperson Cooper to adjourn at 9:02 PM. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We're adjourned.
What is this?
Checks is on.